when is it going to be the moment where you're going to think, right, William Wood Watches is at this level now, and excuse the pun, but it's time to move on.
Yeah, I like that.
I wanted to put
that. You've obviously written that one down before this session.
William Wood Watches.
Yep.
Why did you call it that? Because your name is Jonny.
My name's Jonny Garrett, exactly. So it's called William Wood Watches because my grandfather was called William Wood.
Okay.
So he was a massive role model of mine. He basically served in the British Fire Service for over 25 years.
Okay.
Him and I were really close, and he was really a role model of mine. Okay. So when I thought about my granddad, I really think about somebody who was a leader, somebody who was really quite chivalrous as well.
So we're back on my podcast, Stephen Sulley's Study. We're here at Woodbury House in Soho, Archer Street. We've also got our good friends, the wellness company Mimboso. Thank you very much, guys, for hooking all this up. And then we have the star of the interview today, Jonny.
Yeah.
This guy's a proper entrepreneur. I met you via, who was it again?
You met me via Jesse, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, about 18 months ago. And I came into the studio.
Yeah, and it's certainly a little bit different.
A little bit. It looks great. It looks superb.
Thank you.
Love it.
So where shall I begin? Before we talk about your brand, your watch brand, and I'll let you explain it all because I don't want to take any momentum out of what you're going to say, because I know you're very, very good at articulating it and delivering what the brand's all about. I think you've got a phenomenal story.
Thank you.
I think before anyone looks to purchase any item, any investment, any kind of collectible or a product, they should learn not only the brand but the people behind the brand.
Agreed.
So your name is Jonny. Who are you? What's your background?
Sure.
Where'd you come from, basically?
Okay, cool. So as you say, my name's Jonny. I think you can probably tell by my accent that I'm not from down south. I'm originally from the northeast. So I'm a proud Geordie. Let's be honest, I'm a proud Geordie. So I'm from a town which is about 20 miles west of Newcastle. So me and my sister, we had a really good upbringing. I think my parents really instilled some sort of quite core values into us.
Yeah.
I was actually just saying as I came in here as well, they sort of took us travelling around the world, etc. And I think that basically allowed us to understand that we have to work hard. We have to work hard to achieve that. So growing up in the northeast, I was from a village which is in the countryside, and there wasn't really many opportunities. So a lot of my friends actually worked in the local chipboard factory. Or they wanted to farm the land. It's an agricultural area. So when I said I wanted to move to London, it was very, very different. So growing up, I never really was into education, Steve. Okay, so I left school. I went straight into working, and I basically landed in banking. And I worked in a bank in the northeast for about 12 months. And I thought, you know what, I have to come down to London. That seems to be where the opportunity's at. So I've progressed my way up naturally through a bank, and it's interesting because my dad used to be a very entrepreneurial kind of guy. He launched a successful business, retired early, and my mum was more risk-averse. And I think if I peel back the psychology behind where I am at the minute, I'm working full time in a bank, but I've also got William Wood Watches, which is the brand that obviously we want to talk about. But that basically my journey hasn't been sort of straight to where I am at the minute. It's been up and down. But I moved to London about 5 years ago, and I set William Wood Watches up about 2.5 years ago. Cool.
And you just said something, and I think the reason why it highlighted to me, because I haven't actually told anyone this, but due to some events, I had to get a test done.
Okay.
And I found out I'm actually dyslexic.
No way.
And I got ADHD.
Seriously?
Which there was always some people used to say it as a joke, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get myself tested to see if I actually am.
Okay.
And I found that, and the reason why I mentioned that is because whether you're into education or not, whether you get, let's say me at 33 years of age has now just been sort of given this, like, you know, you're dyslexic. I don't think any of that, your background should ever hold you back. If you've
100%.
got a plan or a mission or a vision for the future, it doesn't matter what opinion someone's got of you or what your background is or where you come from. I think you can achieve pretty much anything you want to.
Yeah.
So with you taking that decision to move from Newcastle down to London, obviously coming away from maybe peers, friends, I think that's a bold step. But you mentioned about you wasn't really into education. Is it similar to me where you found it a little bit difficult to learn, or was it just didn't resonate with you?
Do you know what, mate? I just never enjoyed it. There was something about being in school where all I wanted to do was be out and get a job. But the funny thing is, upon reflection, when you leave school, you sort of think, all I want to do is be back in school because you have the freedom and you don't have the responsibilities of an adult. But I just remember in middle school and high school, all I wanted to do was just basically leave and get a full-time job. And that's effectively what I did, going straight in and working my way up from a really young age. And it's funny because you have all the pressure as well of people going to university. So I'd say about 50% of my mates went to uni and 50% of them are left and just went straight into work. The ironic thing is the amount of people who have come out of university have all of this debt, and they've come in at the exact same level that somebody like I've came in at, and just actually gone through the experience route is unbelievable. And if I look at them in the whites of the eyes and say, would you have gone to university if you had a second chance? They turn around and they say no. So, mate, I completely echo what you're saying. 100%. Yeah.
I know this is a bit of a strange comparison, but sometimes winning the lottery and sometimes going to university is a bit similar, and I'll tell you why. Is because if you win the lottery and you haven't had financial education, a good peer group, a mentor, and you don't really understand the value of money, and if you just suddenly end up with these qualifications but you don't have a plan to use the qualifications or invest the money wisely, you end up going broke. You know, there's so many tests done on people that win the lottery and then for whatever reason they just lose it all. There's plenty of stories like that because they haven't been given the financial education, they haven't got a plan beyond winning the lottery. And sometimes it could be said that the same thing happens when people sometimes go to university, not all the time, but sometimes they go uni, they come out and they think, right, I've got this first degree, you know, I've got this great qualification from this phenomenal university, but now what? They kind of expect maybe subconsciously that you're automatically going to get a job, and it's not the case. There was a guy that I used to go to my school, and I think he'd done okay grades and stuff, and he was trying to get a workplace in a big investment bank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, one of them ones. And anyway, he kept on pushing. He kept on getting pushed back by the banks, and he wrote a letter one day saying, look, I really want to get a position. I'll be willing to work for free for a year. I just need to get the experience under my belt, and I will work for free. So anyway, one bank, I don't know who it was, ended up writing back to him. He got a job for work experience for a couple of months. They told him that he's going to be working for free. And after about a month, they put him on a salary, and they said, we wanted to test to see if you had integrity and if you were committed to your word. So anyway, I've digressed a little bit. What I'm trying to say is it's more about your willpower rather than sometimes your qualification, your skills, and that kind of thing.
I'd completely agree with that. And you said earlier as well around sort of financial intelligence. It's amazing the amount of people who don't actually get educated around financial intelligence. So my dad, when I was younger, he got me into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, what a great book.
Oh, it's insane. But not just the book, he got me into the board game, for God's sake. So like from the
cash
age
flow,
of...
101.
Cash flow, exactly, And just by learning that from a young age and knowing that you have to have assets which actually give you income, you are set up literally to be able to manage your finances from your first paycheck. And it's insane. You sort of think, why aren't they actually teaching this kind of stuff in school? And I see so many of my mates who are on very good salaries and they've got nothing to show for it, or they're at least not taking that income and investing it to create a second or third income for them. But it's an interesting point about your mate as well, though, because I think if you just have that willpower and you turn around and say, look, I'm willing to work for free, that is a powerful statement. And it only took them 4 weeks for the employer to turn around and go, all right, let's take you on. You know what I mean?
For sure. So moving on to your brand.
Yes.
When you told me about it, I thought it was a very, very compelling story.
Thanks.
Or compelling message that you deliver in your product. So, William Wood watches.
Yep.
Why did you call it that? Because your name is Jonny.
My name's Jonny Garrett, exactly. So it's called William Wood watches because my grandfather was called William Wood.
Okay.
So he was a massive role model of mine. He basically served in the British Fire Service for over 25 years.
Okay.
Him and I were really close, and he was really a role model of mine. Okay. So when I thought about my granddad, I really think about somebody who was a leader, somebody who was really quite chivalrous as well. And it's interesting using that word because I think in this day and age, when you think about gentlemen and the people that you meet, I know it's quite a cliche statement, but you do think, well, chivalry maybe is slightly dead.
Yeah.
And by doing this business, the amount of people who used to work with my grandfather who's come out and said, your granddad was a hero, your grandfather was an icon, he was a leader, he was my role model, is insane. So basically what I've done is I've set up a watch business dedicated to my grandfather, firefighters and rescue service workers internationally. So what we do is we take British firefighting material and rescue service material and we upcycle them and we put them inside the watches, okay? So the best example so far is in our limited edition Chivalrous collection. We've taken an original 1920s British brass firefighter's helmet, melted it down, made it into a commemorative coin, and we've put it in the back of every watch. Okay,
that's powerful.
Which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you then have a watch on your wrist which has real British firefighting heritage. But the touching thing has been the amount of people who have actually approached me and said, William Wood. I can empathise with that story, but by wearing the watch, I have a role model, okay? So my role model might be my dad or my mother or my grandmother. So they're wearing the watch almost respecting their role model, who's normally a family member, and not just sort of solely empathising with my story.
Yeah. One of my personal trainers, he is a firefighter himself.
Cool.
A guy called Charlie Beats, a shout out to him. I'm definitely going to be... asking him to listen to this podcast.
You'll have to, mate.
I think he's actually looked up your company.
Has he? Cool.
Yeah, he took a liking to it, and I said I was going to do a podcast with you. And but anyway, he always tells me about the thing is when you hear about people in the army, when you hear about people in the police force, nurses, doctors, firefighters. I know it's going to sound quite corny and cliche, but you don't realise how heroic these people are.
For sure.
And you just you hear about fires and you kind of just assume that they're going to make things all better. But these people are literally putting their lives at risk.
Yeah,
and I just think that doing something to reflect and to honour not only your granddad but the fire force itself is such a powerful thing. And I think as an entrepreneur, the watch market, clothing business, art market is very competitive. So you need a USP, and I think that USP is very important. How important do you think a USP is to business?
Steve, it's insane. It's almost everything, isn't it? Because my story is so unique to me. At the end of the day, you can put me on stage in a panel, you can have journalists asking me questions. My story is me. I am the grandson of William Wood at the end of the day. So it's such a beautiful, emotionally tied, watertight story which other people can empathise with. And that's really what stands out. If you look at the luxury watch market at the minute, you look at your big brands, your Rolex, your Pateks, APs, Ulysse Nardin. Sometimes people don't actually know the stories behind the brands. They just think these are beautiful watches, and by owning one, I'm almost getting into more of a prestigious mindset, which is true. But also, stories sell a lot of the things that you see in the world. And I know you're in sales yourself, especially if you're selling artwork, people want to know about the artist, they want to know about the story. So the USP is massive. Yeah,
it's like looking around now, we've got, we've just done a show 2 weeks ago, which Mimboso also captured with Christopher Ellis, who goes by the artist name called Days. You can find him on Days World. Shout out to him. The artwork is beautiful, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But as you well know, artwork it depends who's looking at it. Some people love it, some people it might not be their style. But as soon as you start explaining the story behind each and every single piece, and most importantly, Days himself, it changes the view of most people. And I think again, regardless whether it's artwork or great watches, it's very, very important to have that USP and the genuine organic story behind it. So your company has been going for how long now?
So we've been going for 2.5 years now. So I kicked it off at the back end of 2016. The journey's been a wild one. But the way that I funded the business in the early stages was through crowdfunding. So I went on a platform called Kickstarter. And that actually triggered me setting up my business. And this is the amazing thing. I thought of my business when I was back up in Newcastle, actually having a pint with a pal in Wetherspoons, who told me about Kickstarter. And when I heard about it, it was like fireworks going off in my mind, because I knew then that I could set up a brand whereby I could raise money through pre-orders, give no equity away in the business whatsoever, and be able to fund my first mass production order of watches. And I did that in 2016.
When you say mass production, how much was that?
500 watches.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's 150 grand of stock.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And what's the materials that you predominantly use with these watches?
So the watch cases themselves are stainless steel 316L cases. The straps are genuine Italian leather. We've got a Swiss movement, which is actually within the body of the watch. All of the glass itself is sapphire crystal. So front and back, it just means it's completely scratch resistant. You knock your watch, you're not going to see a single scratch on it. What's unique is the dials themselves are Sunburst Dials. So if we see the watch under this light, it will be a certain just solid pastel colour. You go outside and it's going to be that sunburst colour. So the presentation packaging as well is mind-blowing. What I try to do there is really create a luxury unboxing experience. And the insane thing is that the watches retail for £299. So when people unbox it, they have the story, they have the upcycling element. They're almost thinking, how on earth have I got all of this for the price it is?
Yeah, that's wicked.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I've looked at Patek Philippe APs, Hublots, Rolexes, and I've noticed over the years as you look at these watches, purchase the watches or whatever, or friends get them, you open it up and you do see all the boxes now becoming, the materials becoming even more finer. The suede, the presentation. I think more and more people understand that it's not just the product that needs to be good, it's the delivery of the product and it's the branding around the product. Everything must feel like an experience, and I think that's really, really important as well.
Yeah, because a lot of people can't afford the watches that you've just said there, okay? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create the experience of what it would be like to be able to own a watch like that, but also going back to your earlier point, having that real unique selling point. One day I've brought a watch in for you so you can see the whole unboxing experience.
Wicked.
It really does blow
that.
your mind. Yeah, definitely. For sure. But it's funny because as you get further into the business, you really develop your understanding as to how to design a watch, which components to use. So the next collection that we're going to be releasing, and this is hot off the press, it's going to be called the Valiant Collection.
Right.
Okay. Valiant, bravery, courageous, rescue. And we're going to have two different designs. It's going to be a 3-hand automatic, and we're going to have a 2-eye chronograph as well. So if you think this was an entry-level quartz watch, we're now going to go one step higher, and then we're going to go one step further with a chronograph. And obviously we're going to move through the pricing brackets as well.
What's going to be the end price, you think?
So I'm thinking that the retail price is going to be about $399 for the auto and about $599 for the chronograph. The aspiration for William Wood is to get to a stage where I can get into that upper 1, 2, 3 grand territory. But at the minute, I just really appreciate the customer base that I have, who are actually predominantly serving firefighters, retired firefighters internationally. And it's almost bridging that gap as to, well, how do I reach there for the general market and somebody who's wanting to spend a bit more money? But at the minute, I'm just really thankful and appreciative of the customer base that I have, because they are such loyal supporters of the brand, because at the end of the day, it's their career.
What I wanted to ask you is, like, when you first had the idea, and I think it was a great move, like raising the money the way you did. Yeah. I think you're very, very smart. And I think it's not, it might be a bit more typical now because people are using social media and there's a real buzz around entrepreneurs and stuff, especially being in London. But to actually go out there and go to a crowdfunding platform is I mean, it's very cool. You get a lot of experience and obviously it's very, very smart. But when you were thinking about launching your brand, how did you know from the get-go which kind of price point, which demographic you wanted to kind of appeal to?
I looked at competitors in the marketplace that I believed that I could really compete with. So what I was trying to do was find a real niche in the market. And by looking at that $299 price point, what you're effectively doing there is you could actually have an impulse purchase, okay? Somebody may not have to come back to your website like 2, 3, 4 times, pour over reviews of the watches. They could go into a retail outlet, they could pull the trigger straight away. And I looked at that marketplace, and you look at $299, you're thinking Hugo Boss watches, Daniel Wellington, Larson & Jennings. These are watches which, yes, if you're looking for a watch which is maybe an easy wear and something that you're happy to knock around, then go for something like that. But if you want something which actually has the USP, the story, the heritage, everything, it was such a simple decision for me to go in at that kind of level. From a geography standpoint, that was basically driven by Kickstarter. Okay, so Kickstarter has about 12 million organic users coming to the platform every month. Some people actually use it more like a shopping platform. You'll go on there and think, do you know what? I want to have a brand that nobody in the world has, and I want to back it and see the entrepreneur take it from nothing to the marketplace. That's cool. And you also get a discount off the future RRP. Okay, so you get in early. And I saw that and I thought, do you know what? That's the perfect platform for launching something as unique as William Wood. And effectively what we did, it took me 9 months to be able to design the watch and get it to a sampling stage to basically build out my Kickstarter page. I went over to Basel in Switzerland. I went to Basel World, the jewelry show, to source and find my suppliers. And I launched it on Kickstarter. I needed to raise 25 grand to basically pay for my first 500 watches. And I raised just over 27 grand in less than 7 days.
That's incredible.
Which is insane.
And just to repeat, you heard about Kickstarter, crowdfunding platform over a beer in a Wetherspoons with your pal.
In Hexham.
Yeah.
So it just shows you can get your inspiration from anywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And your friend, is he into watches, or was it just a general conversation?
It was more of a general conversation, really. He was telling me about Kickstarter, and I thought, do you know what? That's such a clever idea. And I just went home that night, and I just thought, I'm just going to strike while the iron's hot. Because in my mind, I've been going into work all this time. I've had almost like I call it Pandora's box in my head, which was like entrepreneurialism, just sort of trapped in a box, and it was shaking. And over, I'd say, probably 10 years, it took me that period to actually turn around, and the box flew open, and I was like, do you know what? Kickstarter is the platform I need. Whatever idea I come up with, it has to be special to me. And I thought about my grandfather, I'm just going to go for it. Because the amount of people who turn around to me and say, well, how did you actually come up with the idea, and how were you brave enough to do it? And that seems to be people who are sort of wanting to set up their own business. That seems to be their biggest challenge. Yeah,
I think there's a lesson as well that one, be aware of like some of the things that you're being told, because they could be really good ideas, or they could lead you to the next best idea that you've got. But then it's about, excuse my French, but fucking acting on it.
Exactly.
The amount of people must hear something cool, and they think, well, it's a good idea, and they get excited for a moment. Then they kind of diffuse their own excitement by saying, well, I can't really do it, and I don't have the background or the money experience. In actual fact, you can have one idea, you can listen to something, and then just act upon it.
Just do it. Yeah.
To be honest,
just do it.
And to be honest, it's the way that Mimboso started.
Yeah.
Literally, I along with some of my colleagues, I've thought about the basic idea, literally laying in my bed. And now we've got an app, and we're going through a round of investment, and
which is amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
if you think about it, the amount of people who toss and turn in bed, they've got a job where they may hate that job, they go to bed at night, they're thinking about the idea. What I do, I don't know about you, but I write all my ideas down. So if I think of an idea in bed, bang, turn the light on, it goes straight in my notebook. Okay,
Yeah.
You wake up, you look over them, because you think of all these great. It's like when you have a dream. You have an amazing dream. You turn around, I say to my girlfriend, I've just had the most insane dream, but I can't remember it in the morning. But you've actually acted on it, haven't you?
yeah, that's it.
I know.
One of the things I was quite open about when I said I want to get you on my podcast is there's a lot of stories about people starting, then the end product, and you know this. I know. I'll take one crazy example. I know.
Yeah.
Let's look at Instagram.
Okay.
It's an app, got scaled up, and then Facebook turned around and said, you know what, that's really valuable to us. I'm going to offer you $1 billion, and all the founders sold out, and they all pocketed between them all $1 billion. Another one very similar, WhatsApp.
Yeah.
They sold their platform, messaging platform, for roughly about $18 billion. Again, they all sailed off into the sunset. But there isn't too much, unless you look really, really hard, at the journey in between. And as you're speaking, I don't even think you're, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, like even halfway through your journey. You're still at the first kind of quarter of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And no doubt,
maybe not even that.
Maybe not even that. Maybe not even 10% of the way through.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very important and healthy for any listener, subscriber, to hear your story, understand that you've gone through challenges. There's going to be some doubts as well, which is all human nature, but you've got up, you had an idea and you acted upon it. But right now you're still balancing kind of two lives.
I'm balancing two lives, literally.
You're working with in Lloyd's, the bank, and then you're also pursuing kind of your dream and probably what you want to focus on
100%.
ultimately.
Yeah.
So a bit more about that. So you're working in Lloyd's, the bank. What do you do there?
Sure. So the balancing act is insane. So basically, I work for Lloyd's. I'm an associate director. So it's a pretty responsible job. I've got a portfolio of clients who are like FTSE 100 to 250 construction contractors. And I work there probably 8:30 till 6 o'clock. And then I'll leave work and I'll work on William Wood.
Okay.
I'll wake up early to work on William Wood. And I think on top of all of that as well, it's worth saying that I've got a girlfriend as well. So I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years, and you have to show commitment there too. And I've got a mad fitness regime as well.
I was going to say, at least for Christmas, it'll be an easy decision. You just get a watch.
Yeah,
It's just every year, a new series of the watch.
Yeah, just every year, all my family have the same gift. It's just like, there you go, guys. Yeah.
Just change the colour of the strap.
Yeah,
it's pink.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a different gift.
Yeah, it's now a female watch. Perfect, pink strap. But there are so many people saying work, because everybody in work now knows that I've got William Wood. Because it got to the stage where, so it's worth saying that I presented at an event through Esquire Magazine. It was an elevator pitch event where they invited in a whole load of businesses, and I actually ended up winning it. So last year I was nominated or awarded Entrepreneur of the Year 2018 through Esquire Magazine.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and that got into the magazine. And then people were reading it in work, and I was like, shit, I'm going to have to tell work now.
Yeah.
Someone was like, I've just been flying back from New York, Johnny, in front of my boss and everything. I've seen the article, congratulations. I'm thinking, shit. So then I ended up telling work, and they were fully supportive. But they almost see me, I guess, as a bit sort of superhuman, because I've got two different jobs, and then I'm mentally into my fitness as well. And I'm just spinning all of these plates at once. But I think I've just got such core, solid values, habits and routines that I get up, and every day my day looks very similar. And I think if you do all of these things, just the tiny little things that you do on a daily basis, if you actually look back, and I think, Christ, 2.5 years ago I set up William Wood. It's on track to turn over 120 grand this year, which is pretty good for a business outside of work. Yeah.
For I'm not like... I know, like just saying this, but some people could say it's like your side hobby, but that side hobby is about to turn over over 100 grand.
Exactly,
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's so true. But it comes back to just those habits and having that routine of just getting up and knowing that you're gonna run into work, you're gonna get your fitness out the way, your endorphins are released, you're ready to attack work. You do a great job at work. I do weights over my lunch. Finish work, go straight home, and I work on William Wood. And then I'll have a date night with my girlfriend, and we'll do specific activities as well. I think it's just being about, you have to be regimented with your time.
You definitely do. Yeah.
If I wasn't regimented with my time, I'd just be sloppy. I'd be all over the place, and I wouldn't have achieved half of what I've done so far.
Yeah.
I think the exciting thing is, what can I achieve through William Wood doing it full time?
Yeah.
If I take out working 8:30 to like 6:30.
Yeah. I've done a podcast episode, I think it was my second or third one.
Okay.
And funny enough, it's called A Routine of a Champion.
Yeah.
And the reason why I called it that is because over the years, being in sales and being in different businesses and stuff, and being into my fitness as well, and predominantly boxing, I realised that having a routine is absolutely key. Rob Moore, who is my mentor, says a famous line, which is, you can't master something if you're not measuring it.
Okay.
And what a routine does is a kind of your measure in your day.
Yeah.
And then you can see where you're going right, where you need to improve, what maybe not working so well. If you're quite intermittent, quite scattered, and quite you don't have a routine, it's very, very difficult to know exactly which areas of your life you're performing very, very well at, because it's a bit hit and miss.
You're right, it's got to be measurable.
It is.
I mean, if you look at the iPhone notes section within my phone, you've got my 6-week training plan there. You can go into every single session that I've done over the last 6 weeks, and you can probably look at every 6-week plan I've done for the last 2 years. You could drill into Thursday the 31st of May, and you could see whether I was feeling weak that day. You could see whether I felt as though I couldn't get the exercise out that day, or whether I was feeling a bit weaker. Maybe I didn't have enough carbs before the session. So if you have that granular detail with your fitness, if you can have that seep into work and your business, you have to be able to measure where you're going. Otherwise, how can you decide whether you're doing a good job?
Definitely. I'm a big believer of education, even far beyond school and university and stuff like that. I think that every single day you need to be at least learning something. Because if you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're basically dying.
Agreed.
So I am religiously listening to podcasts, and I always like to listen to kind of like something we're doing right now, where I'm listening to a story from someone and finding how they become resourceful, and also spinning loads of plates in order to get to where they wanted to be. I listened to the founder of WeTransfer.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was from a podcast called The Secret Leaders. I think the host there is a guy called Dan Murray. Very, very good podcast. Really, really, really good. I've been to a couple of their events. And basically, for like the first few years, he too, I think, was working for a bank or some institute. A few of them were. And the company, which was their side hobby again, almost, nearly went bust a few times.
Right.
And then there was one stage where they had to make a decision whether it was to leave their current employment and go and pursue it, or just let it fizzle out. And thankfully, they all decided to pack in their jobs and then press on with WeTransfer. And as you well know, that company is
He's just bossing it.
I mean, he must be worth hundreds of millions, if not maybe $1 billion.
Yeah.
When is it going to be the moment where you're going to think, right, William Wood Watches is at this level now, and excuse the pun, but it's time to move on.
Yeah, I like that.
I wanted to put
that. You've obviously written that one down before this session. I need to get that one.
I was like, right, I need to put this pun in at some point. I thought that was the best moment.
Okay, it worked well. It worked well. That's a question which I think everybody seems to ask me. That's the most frequent question I get asked, especially the people that I work with. I think for me, it was interesting because when I was focusing more on brand awareness, I thought to myself, do you know what? I want to earn half of my monthly salary at the bank I work for, and then I'll think about jumping ship. And then I met somebody who basically turned around and said, screw that. Why don't you want to be earning at least the same or more before you consider jumping ship? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, again, to use the phrase earlier, will try and bootstrap. And I thought, that's quite a good analogy. And actually what's ended up happening is, for the last sort of 5-6 months now, what William Wood has been generating has actually been like 2-3 times more than what I get from my employer. So the decision for me is not going to be driven by money though, it's going to be more driven by my time. When I get to the stage where the time is too hard for it to manage, spinning all these plates, that's going to be the point when I look to jump ship, okay? So for example, we're launching the new Valiant Collection. I'm going to do it again on Kickstarter. That's hard work, mate. Like, you are literally designing the watch from scratch, talking to your suppliers, you're sampling all of the products, and sampling takes a long time, especially for a luxury watch. Then you're shooting the Kickstarter video, you're building it out, and then you launch it. If I get to the stage where I raise a nice sum of money from doing that, it will then take me time to be able to fulfill those orders. And I think juggling my time of working at the bank and also doing William Wood, I think it might be quite tough at that point. Yeah. So I think it's not so much money, it's more so the time. But interestingly, if I wasn't generating the sales through William Wood and you'd asked me that 18 months ago, I would have gone, well, maybe when I was earning half of my salary, or maybe the salary that I earn. But now that I've well surpassed my bank salary, it's more the time element. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because there's a couple of schools of thought, I guess. Sometimes when I first got into sales, they said to me, this sounds like a very odd advice if you're not in sales, which is they used to say, get a loan, leave home. I was like,
so that's like all or nothing. I see that as like proper Gary V kind of style. Yeah, like literally just go for it, gun for it.
19 years of age, didn't really have any plans to leaving home, and they was like, you got to leave home. I was like, why? And they're quite forceful about it, almost, because it was like a culture, like it was a winning culture. Like there was no negative talk, there was no limitations on what you could achieve. It was, you know, if you want to do something, do it now and do it big. You know. And I thought, what do you mean, get a loan and leave home? They said, get in debt and leave home. And I said, why? He said, well, think about it. You're in a commission-based environment. How are you going to earn commission? Well, the way you're going to earn a commission is by putting yourself under enough professional pressure, getting yourself into debt, but for the right reasons, becoming responsible, and then you'll find the way, and you'll find the money. And I would never recommend that to someone personally if they were just in a job where you might not be able to earn the extra money. But if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're certainly in sales where you're commission based, it's actually really, really good advice. But providing you've got the attitude for it,
of course,
providing you're willing to fight, work, blood, sweat and tears, put everything you got into it, and then you'll make it happen. But if you haven't got that attitude or that personality and the characteristic to back it up, it's quite a daunting thing to do.
I bet.
So like with your scenario, you know what you could do a lot of the time, you could be like, well, even when you start earning the same what you're earning at the bank, you could easily go, well, actually I've got 2 revenues coming in here now, I'm going to wait until I double it. And then you have another scenario where, well, you know what, I'll just double it again. And what happens is you keep on procrastinating and put it off. Making that leap and sometimes a step back to take 2 giant leaps forward, that's probably one of the hardest things that anyone can do, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, you must have kind of, coining your phrase, tossed and turned, thought about it in bed and thought, well, when shall I actually leave?
I have, because what I could achieve outside of Lloyd's doing it full time is obviously a lot more than what I could be doing at the minute. The only thing is, obviously it's just me, so I think the other part and the natural evolution of the brand will be bringing on other people as well who are just as passionate to be able to help the business grow. But again, that's something that I envisage doing when I'm actually doing it full time. But I have tossed and turned over it on numerous occasions. And I think that is the scariest part, because if I had your mentality at the beginning, I would have taken that loan out and I would have just gone for it hell for leather. They say obviously that businesses will either be a success or fail within the first 2 years. I'm out that period, but I do think that it's been nice and comforting having the salary coming in from Lloyd's whilst I've been doing William Wood. And it's helped a lot. It's helped massively. But you're right, I'm getting to that tipping point where I can feel that it's necessary just for my time to be able to get out there and start meeting people and networking. Because the other thing that I haven't really been able to do is get out there and network. And that's some brand awareness is something which is big, but brand awareness takes time, and you don't obviously see the benefit of sales coming through from it at the end of the day.
I think when you're taking that leap, it's almost like when a child takes off the stablers off the bike.
Yeah, it's so true.
You know, you're used to having it prop you up if you're not well balanced, but you know, you need to take them off, you need to fall a couple of times, then to get back up and then carry on. And only at that point will you really become the best business man, entrepreneur that you could possibly be, and you're going to learn a lot more. I think whilst Lloyd's is a good thing and obviously going to get paid, and it's great to work for one of, you know, a massive bank like that, and you're going to get a lot of experience, a lot of credibility working there. I think the best version of you is going to be really revealed once you give this, you know, everything that you've got in the next, I don't know, couple of months or the next couple of years or whatever. So
I'd agree with that completely, because I'm also big into my sort of self-development as well. But again, trying to fit all of that in whilst having a job is the challenging time. And it's so hard when you have meetings which you're potentially missing out on, which are in between 9 to 5 p.m. But I am excited to see the version of me when I become self-employed.
You know, you said you're big into. You obviously you got a partner,
Yeah.
Mrs.
Yeah.
You obviously work for a bank. You're pursuing a phenomenal brand that you're developing. Think it's great. Personal development.
Yeah.
Training. Talk me through like a typical day then.
Sure.
The moment you wake up, what time you wake up, what you do, to the moment you go to bed.
Yeah, okay.
Your version of a routine of a champion.
My version of a routine of a champ. Okay, so I get up probably about 6 a.m. First thing is I've got to have coffee. I'm obsessed with caffeine. I'm trying to cut that down a lot though.
Mate, I love it as well. I just had a double espresso.
Yeah, it's you can get hooked on it for sure. But my missus she's a personal trainer and nutritionist and a lifestyle coach.
Oh wow!
So you can imagine it's probably why I've got my shit in order. So I'm up at 6 a.m. I'm getting a coffee downers. What I normally do is I'm checking William Wood emails, checking my work emails as well. So I've basically got two hats on at the end of the day. I'm a firm believer that if you send emails off first thing in the morning and you're the first email to drop in that person's inbox, well, you're going to be the first thing people think of. So I like to try and get my emails.
Love that psychology.
Yeah, try and get it into people's inbox from like 6:15, that kind of time.
Any entrepreneurs listening to this guy's on it. This guy is on it. I like that. That's a little fucking life hack.
There you go, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Go on.
So then from then on, my bag is already packed the night before to run. I'm big on preparation because if I've got such a finite amount of time in a day to do all this stuff, how am I going to do it if I haven't planned for it? So my bag is ready to go. I'm out the house and I've got a lovely 10-kilometer run into work. Now it's funny the run into work as well, because one day I took a friend with me to do that run with me, and he thought it was a toxic run. We were running through the city. It was like right in the center of pollution. We didn't run through any greenery or anything. And I think this comes back to running for me is massive, and it sets me up for the day, because over that 10 kilometers, I'm ticking off what I need to do throughout the day. And I'm doing this run thinking it's one of the most beautiful runs I've ever done. Okay. Like I run down basically Kennington Road. There's a house where Charlie Chaplin used to live. So I look at that and I'm like, how cool is that? I run through Imperial War Museum, through the gardens, beautiful. I come past Southwark Fire Station on the way in, which is actually closed due to budget cuts to the fire service. And I look at that and I think, Christ, I want to make a difference to try and change stuff like that. You're running over the bridge and you see the city.
Wouldn't it be cool? Sorry, I just got to say this because otherwise I'll forget it. Wouldn't it be cool one day, right? That fire station or a fire station that's been shut down, you turn it into the William Woods headquarters, and that could be one of your franchise bloody shops.
Have you read my vision?
No.
Right.
No.
That's literally on my website.
Literally, great mind think alike.
Yeah, exactly.
I swear, I have not read it. No, I haven't.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Well, I've taken it one step further. That fire station,
right? I
actually got a designer to physically draw the concept of it, for me to take over the lease and to change it into my head office, where I effectively have like a storage room upstairs where people can come in and they can still purchase watches, a fireman's pole where staff can come down the fireman's pole if health and safety will allow it.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
That first.
Yeah. Staff will be wearing like fire hose aprons. And whenever a customer purchases a watch, you ring one of the big old vintage bells. Out front, there's a vintage fire truck which has been salvaged, turned into William Wood, travel around the UK, sell coffees out of it, sell watches out of it. So it's funny that you said that, because that is part of it's called my Vision 2021.
Wow.
So that's what I want to try and achieve.
That's wicked. Another one of my episodes is called your mission statement, and it's all about talking about your mission and the vision for the future, but doing it so much fucking detail that you're almost so excited. It's almost like it's real. Yeah. It's almost like you're living and breathing it right now, and all you now got to do is go through the motions, put the hard work in, execute your plan, and that kind of vision becomes that reality. Yeah, and I can you're not just saying the words, I can feel it. I can literally feel that is going to happen.
Well, because when I'm saying it, I'm in the store. I can smell it, I can see it, I can taste it, like literally. So I can say it with such conviction because I can see it, mate. Yeah. But it's funny that you said that. So I run past the fire station, I'm over the bridge, and my mate then turned around and said that run was awful. And I turned around and be like, what the hell? That's one of the most beautiful runs. And I think, again, that comes back to mindset. You can have one person who does the exact same route with you, but if they don't look at it through a positive lens, they have a completely different experience. I get into work, shower, and then I normally have a nice healthy breakfast. I'm not having any kind of cow's milk at the minute, so I just have like a porridge with oats milk, all about the oat milk. So I will work from about 8:30 till about 6 o'clock. On my lunch break, I'll go and do my weight session.
How long you got? An hour on
yeah,
break?
Yeah, I've got about an hour, but again, just so regimented.
So you become resourceful and you think, right, I'm going to go right this. Are you like this? Like, I'm going to get into the gym at this point. I'm going to be doing my, stretching or warm up and doing all my weights, and then by like 10 minutes to or quarter to, I'm in the shower.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like bang on, so precise.
There is no way, because I do it with my boss, you see. So if he tries talking to me, I'm just like, right, shut up. We need to keep doing it. Do you know what I mean? So he laughs because I'm almost like his personal trainer. So he laughs at that. But we have this proper, again, detailed 6-week plan. 2 weeks we do 20 reps of everything. 2 weeks we do 10 reps of everything. 2 weeks we do 6 reps of everything, and the weight goes up. And we do that every 6 weeks. So we're banging to our fitness. Then we finish that, we go back, and I'll have like client meetings, etc. throughout the day. Some pretty big meetings as well. I mean, at the end of the day, you're meeting group treasurers, finance directors, sometimes even the chief executive of FTSE 250 blue chip companies. So you've got to be on form. So we then, and that part does excite me, because it's nice to see somebody who, even though they're not entrepreneurs, they're at the top of their game. Do you know what I mean? So then I leave work, I'll go home. I'm not going to run back home, because I'd be doing like a half a marathon every day, which would be insane. Have a nice dinner and work a bit more on William Wood, and then relax with the missus, really, and then it all happens again.
Wicked.
But my constant throughout the day is eating clean.
And what's eating clean? I know what that means, but some other people have a different idea of what eating clean means.
Yeah, sure.
So what's your interpretation of eating clean?
So for me, it's eating the right foods which will suit the type of training that I'm doing as well. Because eating clean, naturally, I eat clean anyway, okay? So eating clean is just basically making you having the right kind of macros that your body needs, okay? Some good fats, the right amount of carbohydrates, a low level of sugar. I have so much water, it's unbelievable. I probably have 4 or 5 litres of water a day. I just keep filling up those big 2-litre bottles of water. I think hydration's key. And I have a nice sort of fistful of meat with every meal, really. So I like to have my protein high. But nutrition is everything. Without a good nutrition, your energy levels are just rock bottom, aren't they?
Yeah. You could have the best idea, the best business concept in the world, but I feel if you haven't got your nutrition and training on point, it's going to fizzle out. I'm not I'm not a juggernaut in the business sector by any stretch, but I do sometimes get someone, asking for even a small, tiny bit of advice, and I can only give them what I believe in. And I say to anyone, if you're going to get into a commission-based environment like sales, if you're going to pursue, an idea, a concept, and you're going to become an entrepreneur, the number one thing you need to do, and they always wait for they think,
what is it?
That they want this business plan, or they say they want me to say bank with this bank, or go and see this person. I say the number one thing is get your health and nutrition right. Yeah. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to feel good. You're going to feel like shit. And first impressions do matter. When you're going into these meetings with potential clients, investors, JV partners, or anything like that, they are going to look at you and think that person either looks after themselves because of the way they just look, or they seem a little bit unhealthy, or they always seem ill, or they always seem, I don't know, they just don't look like they're glowing with confidence. And I think that the training and stuff is very, very, very important.
It's hugely important. The part that I find so important about fitness, though, is it's a platform where it's you against yourself, okay? Your body is like your own canvas. So you can look at fitness in two ways. You can look at it aesthetically, or you can look at just feeling good about yourself, or both. At the end of the day, both. But you are the only person that can dictate how far you can push your body. You are the only person that can run a half marathon in the time you want to do, or get yourself down to a certain body fat percentage. And when you look around the gym and you see the people who are actually training really hard, it's sort of a mutual respect to be like, yeah, I know that you have busted your balls to get there. And I think it's one of the only things in the world where you can almost own it and nobody else can take it from you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
Just so going back to your brand then, we are 2 years into the journey of it?
2.5 in now, yeah.
2.5 years. Talk me through. Let's double it. Where are you going to be? The 5-year mark.
Yeah.
Where would you like to be? How many employees you're going to have?
Sure.
Which countries you're going to be in? What designs?
Yeah.
How is the actual brand? Because I think I've noticed that the brand today on Instagram is slightly different to what it was when I first looked at it.
Yeah.
I think
it's evolved so much.
You've upgraded it or evolved it, as you just said.
Yeah.
Which even that small little detail, the devil is in the detail.
Yeah.
I've noticed it. So. Yeah, talk me through that. 5 years, so the 2.5 years from now.
Yeah, okay.
What's that look like?
So the vision is big, okay? The vision is basically to be almost a sort of recognised niche high street brand, which is a predominantly a watch company, but also has a luxury accessory range across a span of different rescue service sectors, okay? The integrity of William Wood will always be there. So my grandfather's story is always going to be at the core. It's not just going to be the fire service. We're going to look at going into the military. We're going to look at RNLI lifeboats. We're going to look at helicopter rescue, okay, ambulance rescue. Because at the end of the day, there is a limit to firefighters internationally. However, every single country in the world has a rescue service, okay? So what I want to have a retail presence. I want to have a shop which is going to be somewhere in central London. In my mind, I always think about somewhere around Covent Garden. I just love that cobbled street kind of area.
I think it's cool, right?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Yeah. Now, I'm not somebody who says that I want to have a big retail empire. I think retail's really challenged at the minute, and I'm doing very well online. I just want to have almost a store where I can have people coming into it in and around somewhere like Covent Garden.
Like an experience, yeah.
Exactly. You sort of stealed my thunder earlier on, Steve, because my vision for my HQ is obviously to have a fire station. I want to take over a condemned fire station. The one in Southwark was the one which really got me going, really. And I want to keep all of the original features. I want to have a British watchmaker in there. I want it to be an open head office where people can come in, appreciate British watchmaking and its artistry at its finest, but also retain all of the original elements. Okay, 2.5 years in, I'm going to be on to my 4th collection by then, and that's when I'm going to be entering into a much higher RRP. But I also want to go into other luxury accessories. So if you think about William Wood wallets, okay, WWW. I can move into having things such as recycled fire hose. Making a wallet all out of fire hose material would be pretty sick. That would be awesome. Or cufflinks, okay? Or a belt.
Quality.
Do you know what I mean? Just a way that guys, and I'd like to go into ladies at some point, maybe with a limited edition collection just to sort of dabble in it, because I'm also finding that guys who buy the watches would appreciate buying a similar watch, but a ladies version for the wife. Or for the girlfriend, okay, or a brother for the sister. So the vision is to be a niche, sustainable rescue service brand, which will be reaching a few different countries. It will have a retail presence, a very small one, but I'm wanting to grow further into places like the US.
But by that time, though, I imagine you're going to be full-time on.
Oh, 100%.
And are you allowed to say or even predict when you do think you'll take that leap out?
I reckon it'll be in the next 12 to 18 months. Yeah, it's not long. I know, I can feel it. Do you know when you can just feel it?
I'm just a little bit apprehensive because if someone that you work with listens to this, they'll be like, he's leaving soon. Don't give him that bonus.
Not at all.
I'm joking.
Not at all. Yeah. I'll actually tell my boss to watch it. He'll be laughing his head off. He'll be like, I've lost my personal trainer.
Wicked vision. I know it's not everything, but I like to talk about it because I think it's, in this country, it's sometimes a bit of a taboo subject, money. Yeah. But then you go to America or other parts of the world, and people are very open about it.
Talk about it. I know.
What kind of revenue do you want to be, let's say, turning over? Not necessarily yourself personally, but what kind of turnover will William Wood watches be producing?
Well, the aspiration of the business is, I don't know why, I've always wanted to have a business which would get to a point where it is turning over up to, and this isn't in 2.5 years, this is where I want to scale it to, up to £10 million a year, okay? And that's sized because I am working with so many other brands at the minute, okay? So I'm looking at doing, to use your earlier word, a joint venture with a firefighter uniform brand who are looking to basically create straps for me made out of the firefighter uniform. And I look at a brand, they've been established for the last sort of 10 years, and their turnover about 11.5 million a year. And that kind of size of business and the competitors that I see in the marketplace, I think it's a really good size to aim for, but also not too big where you lose control over the business, okay? And it's another interesting point as well, because the topic of finance and getting there and scaling is obviously major. And people have told me about things such as private equity. And people have also asked me, well, do you foresee yourself almost selling out of the business and having an exit plan? But the answer to that is yes and no, because I think at the end of the day, I'm always going to have an emotional connection to William Wood, no matter how big or how far it goes. And if somebody does approach me, you talked about WhatsApp and Facebook, etc., how they did a sellout, I'd still think I'd want to have a close handle on the business, because the integrity of William Wood is my granddad at the end of the day. It's my mum's dad. So it's always going to mean a lot to us and the family. But aspirationally, I want to get the business turning over up to 10 million quid a year.
That's a really good target to aim for.
Yeah.
Why don't you take it to 12 and that's £1 million a month?
There you go. I like your thinking.
It's a nice level, isn't it?
That is a nice little target. Yeah. A nice little target. That's a magnificent target.
£1 million a month. I mean, what an achievement that would be.
That would be unbelievable.
From a startup, from a brand that you just literally developed, you ran with it, and it could be turned over £1 million a month.
Oh mate, that would be insane. But the thing that you said there as well is why I love the brand so much is it is literally, it is sort of self-made. It's literally gone from idea, thinking about it, as you say, thinking about it in bed, and just going, do you know what, screw it, I'm going to act on it. And the funny thing was, I haven't mentioned this, but for the 9-month period that I was designing it, thinking of the idea and launching it originally, I didn't tell my parents about it. I didn't tell my sister about it. The only people that knew were my girlfriend and her sister. I just literally locked myself away for 9 months and just hibernated. And it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes the people closest to you, you would think maybe your biggest critics and your biggest judges.
Yeah.
So for 9 months, and then I just literally turned around, called my parents. They said, you've been acting weird these last 9 months. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I said, oh, yeah, well, I've got something to tell you. I've set up a brand dedicated to Grandad, and I've just raised 27 grand.
Wow.
And it's happening.
And what was their response like?
They were bloody shocked.
Were they?
Yeah, of course. I think in a way they were actually quite relieved, because they were thinking, Johnny's just basically gone away and hibernated for 9 months. Is he all right? And in reality, I had just been grinding out the hours to do what I wanted to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wicked story. Couple more things. I remember when over the telephone you said that you found yourself reaching the fire service through kind of little niche ways. And I was going to ask you more about it, but I thought I'd save it for the podcast, because I'm actually really intrigued, because I love hearing these little people seeing stuff on Instagram. They're buying the watches, you know, but they don't always hear or know about these little moves that you have to pull as an entrepreneur in order to get to where you want to get to. So you're becoming resourceful. You're using everything, all your energy, excitement, enthusiasm in order to get these meetings. So tell me a bit more about that.
Do you know what, Steve? That's your best question, because the hardest part is having a product which is amazing, a story which is pure, and then trying to get it in front of a hungry audience is the hardest part. And that's why, God, hell, I would have gone straight to 120 grand of turnover if I had just thought about hitting the right targeted audience. Because we were talking about it earlier, I'm not in a position where I can just take 100 grand, dump it in a Facebook marketing account and go, okay, age range 35 to 40, male firefighter, US, UK, bang, here's an advert. I can't do that. I'm a small business, I can't afford it. So you have to be clever, and you have to find out ways of how can I market this business for free. And that's the hardest thing, but also the exciting thing at the same time. So what I've done is I've done a lot of research in the UK. I've realised that there's 52 regions in the UK. There's 52 different fire services. Tyne and Wear Fire and Rescue, London Fire Brigade, Staffordshire. And what I've been doing is I've been contacting the individual associations. Okay, when a firefighter retires, they can become part of a retired members association, which means that they will receive emails with offers day trips, because at the end of the day they're retired, but they want to have a memento that recognises their career, but also they just want to meet up with their pals who used to be in the service, and they want to go to a museum, or maybe go out for a few drinks, or do whatever.
Yeah.
And without these amazing associations, they can't do it. So I was messaging the committee members of these associations and saying, look, I've got a watch business. We are dedicated to firefighters. We have British firefighting heritage in the watches. We donate a percentage of all of our sales to the firefighters charity in the UK, an amazing charity. All I'm asking is, on your next newsletter, can you send it out to your members? And what it's been doing is, you'll find one region has 1,200 members it goes out to. Another region has 600. Another region has 3,500. My God, you are hitting the most targeted mailing list you could ever think of for free, okay? And let's not forget as well, retired firefighters, yes, they're looking for something to recognise their career, but they also have disposable income, okay? Everybody knows serving in the fire service, you don't get into it for money. You do it because you want to selflessly help people, and it's a cool as hell job. It is a cool job. So the guys who are into retirement have that disposable income, and that's really what's sort of taken the turnover from where I was to where I'm looking to hit now.
So when you first started, in the first 6 or 12 months, what was the turnover? And then in the last year or year and a half, how much has it jumped by?
Yeah, so I met a guy who is the founder of All About Brown swimming trunks. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I've got so many fucking pairs of them. My missus gets the ump because I got a friend of mine, and I shout out to him, a guy called Jack Bateman, that every time I get in these bloody shop in Sunningdale called Greens for him, he financially rapes me. Right, and I walk out of there.
I love it. Yeah.
I walk out of there with so many pairs of Oliver Browns, and it's fucking winter. But anyway, so
the swimming trunks are insane, aren't they?
But they're amazing. But
they are.
You just hit a switch there for me.
and for any listeners who don't know, All About Brown, if you think about Casino Royale, when Daniel Craig's coming out the water, he's got those little tightly blue.
Well, that's kind of how I imagine I'm looking, but I don't. I've got a bit of a roll going over.
Maybe a little different. So they are the swimming trunks. I met up with him, and he built his business up over 10 years. Amazing story. He went on holiday. His mates were basically wearing swimming trunks. They were all saggy. They weren't tailored. They looked awful. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to set up a tailored swimming trunk business. He did it over 10 years because I think people heard the news late last year that Chanel had bought All About Brown.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So Chanel bought them out.
How much?
Don't know. It says undisclosed amount. I'm not sure.
It's going to be.
Yeah, it's Chanel. It's going to be big. French couture house. And he's obviously done magnificent. But people look at that business and think it's an overnight success, but he's built it up over 10 years. His best advice to me was, because I met him in Notting Hill. I was introduced to a mutual connection. He said, your brand awareness is great. It's fantastic that you're telling people about the brand, you're networking, you've won the Esquire Self-Made event. But mate, scrap all that. You need to show 100% year-on-year revenue growth. That's it, okay? Get out there for the next 2-3 years and just show 100% year-on-year revenue growth. As soon as I left the meeting, I did a 30 grand year, a 60 grand year, and I'm on track to do nearly 120 grand year.
Again, like we've just already said it about your friend in the pub, but I don't know if you can call him a mentor, the guy, but it was kind of the same sort of stuff a mentor should or would say to you.
Yeah.
The importance of just getting inspiration from someone who's walked that path that you want to walk down.
Yeah.
But again, listening to their information or their knowledge and fucking acting upon it. Because the amount of people in your position might have been, oh, do you know what, I know best, or I'm a bit too proud. Yeah. I don't need to listen to them. Kind of shove to one side their recommendation, and then you could have missed out on some vital growth.
Oh, 100%. And by hearing it from somebody, as you say, who's actually gone through that before, that was a switch going off in my mind. Because my dad actually turned around and he said, look, Johnny, the brand awareness is good, but because, as I say, he was an entrepreneur in the past, he's like, we've got to get some sales through here. But when you hear it from your dad, you're like, it's me dad, whatever. But when I heard it from him, it was like, shit, it's game on now.
Yeah,
and it's funny how I just had that switch in my mind. So that's been the sort of trajectory of the revenue.
And the revenues all come from internet?
I do have one retailer on board. So I am stocked in something called the British House. They're based in Beijing, right in the heart of Beijing. They basically have built a 3-story purpose-built townhouse. They have the only Harrods tea room outside of Harrods in London. It's really cool, and obviously...
and you've been there?
I haven't been, but I'm planning on going over to Asia, and I'm going to be dropping into the store and saying hello. But that's really been my conduit into the Asian market, because they love British luxury. So my retail network is just that. I'm getting everything else through the internet.
Oh, good man.
Yeah.
Wicked. Right, so where can people find you?
So people can find me on Instagram at William Wood Watches, all one word. The website is williamwoodwatches.com. If you've obviously got any questions, you can just drop me an email at info@williamwoodwatches.com as well. Social media is pretty cool. They should follow us. I'm up to over 23,000 followers now. So
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, how'd you get so many?
Yeah.
I was going to say, how'd you get so many followers? But obviously, you've been working your fucking arse off.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it has jumped. You know,
it's jumped, but it's plateaued for the last 12 months. Instagram is becoming so much harder. I launched, I know. I launched William Wood Watches at the perfect time, where the algorithm was a lot better. You could get a lot more organic traffic. I got to 23,000, and it's just sort of sat there now. But the thing is, it's amazing, because our I-class Instagram is like the sort of brand book, the CV of my brand. You can go there, you can look at the gallery, but I don't get sales through it. I don't get sales through Instagram, I don't get sales through Facebook. It's by finding your highly targeted audience through the fire service, the retired firefighters, and really just getting your marketing plan absolutely down. That's how you get your sales.
Good man. I want to do another podcast with you once there's another chapter to your life and also to the brand.
I'd love to.
So that might be where you get, maybe, I don't know, let's talk about in the future, you could even float the company. Yeah. That would be pretty insane. You've got some experience with that, working obviously at the bank and things like that, so that'd be cool. So I'm going to hold you to that. Cool. Any bits of advice that you would give any entrepreneur wanting to get into watches or into any sector really, and they're kind of going through what you're going. So like you got social life, you got your with your partner. Yeah. You're working at in a corporate environment. You're training. You're into nutrition. Exactly. Yeah. You know, you're into your personal development, and then you're trying to pursue a life goal, which is your own brand. Sure. What is a couple of things that you can give as a bit of advice to an audience? Yeah, okay.
I think from my standpoint, I think I am almost living proof, and there are a lot more people out there like me who says that you can set up your own business whilst working full-time in a job. The amount of people who think that they would have to quit to do it, I almost say that you can do it the other way too, okay? So by working at Lloyd's, I found an institution who actually are supportive of what I'm doing, and that's allowed me to take the pressure off me and build it up over time rather than the all or nothing approach. So I think if you are working at the minute, don't think that you're restrained by the parameters of the job that you have. You can set up your business outside of work, and you can hustle, and you can get it the way where you want it to be. So I think that's point one. I think that the second point is mindset. Everything starts with mindset, okay? You got to be reading, you got to be listening to your podcasts. I listen to Oprah Winfrey Masterclass, where she actually interviews people like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart.
That's a podcast?
It's a podcast, yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Nice.
And what she does is she says everybody has a story. Everybody started from somewhere. You look at somebody like The Rock and you think, holy shit, he's just like an icon. No, he started from somewhere. And you hear their story from the very beginning in such an honest way. So I think that's cool. And the other one I listen to is by Reid Hoffman, who's the co-founder of LinkedIn. And his podcast is called Masters of Scale. So he interviews people like the founder of like an Airbnb, and he'll talk you through how they scaled the business up. I don't know, I'm big on sort of just self-development and constantly putting positive messages in your mind. Okay, even when I'm running into work, sometimes I don't even listen to music. I'm just listening to like sort of motivational speeches.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to push you through.
Yeah.
So mindset's big. The fact that if you have a job, you can still do something on the side and you can scale it. And it all comes down to your daily habits. You have to be consistent, but that all starts with your mindset. You've got to be in the right frame of mind to do it. So you have to have those habits on a daily basis. Use your time wisely, and plan the night before. Christ, planning is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. If my bag wasn't packed to run, I'd be sloppy as out. I'd be late for work, and it would run into everything else that I've got to do that day.
I can say the only person who's going to know this is my fiance, but literally I get up at 1 minute past 5 in the morning, and the night before, this is going to sound so weird, I put a spoon out downstairs.
Yep.
I have my apple cider vinegar ready.
It's so good, that.
So
my
I
girlfriend
put it on,
will love that. She talks about it all the time.
I back it. So I have the apple cider vinegar, which also has an added ingredient called mother in it.
Yeah.
Have that, bang that, and I have my 2 cat bowls with their food ready. So I put that down.
Yeah. Okay.
And the cats come over, and that just makes me feel good because I'm feeding them.
Yeah,
and I'm in my car by 10 minutes past 5 on the way to.
You've done that in 9 minutes.
Yeah, I do it really
rapid.
quickly. I'm up, bang, 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 go, and I literally go. I brush my teeth, obviously.
Yeah.
Got electric toothbrush with non-fluoride toothpaste. That'll be another thing to talk about, another episode. And I drive to boxing, and I listen to music on the way there to get myself pumped. I do my training on the way back. It's about a 45-minute journey. I listen to a podcast, and I completely support what you say, that even if I'm not always 100% listening, like really like immersed into it, just because it's going into my ear and feeding my brain, I believe whatever you put into your brain, it will manifest out of you in some way. I think it's important.
It's that positive reaffirmation that you might not be getting from other people as well. So hell, just put a podcast on and hear it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Right, at end of every single podcast, I leave it with my I don't know what you call it, send off line, catchphrase, which is be happy, never content.
Nice.
I have my own reason behind it. I should explain the reason, but rather than me doing that, if I were to say to you, be happy, never content, what is your interpretation of that? What is Johnny's version of that?
So the minute you said that, be happy is, happiness is key at the end of the day. I mean, God, I'm very happy in the place I am in my life, but being never content is almost like being that wolf on the wall. It's still being hungry to want more, in my opinion, because you've got to push yourself. Every day you said that you listen to podcasts because you're hungry to learn. If you're not learning, you're almost dying. So I would say you have to be happy, but never content, because you always want to push on harder. That's my view.
Top man. Thanks for coming on my podcast.
Right,
nice one.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank
much,
you very
mate.
much.
Appreciate it.
Done.